Lisa.
I'm Tone from Boneyard. We're located at 1102 North Ashland. We sell vintage clothing, sneakers, some streetwear, some of our own branded merch. We opened up in 2006. This is our second store. We had a smaller store a couple blocks away, but we moved here in November of 2018, so we've been here only a couple months. So we had a website. We opened the website in November of, I think, 2015, and we were selling strictly vintage on the site. And in August of 2016, we opened the first store. It was a little 1,500 square feet, tiny little guy. But yeah, we pretty much just started rolling with it. We built it ourselves, me, my partner, and like my dad and my uncle, like built it all by hand, and like really didn't have too much funds to like go around, so we had to make what we could out of it. But it worked, like we started off super slow because it's kind of a weird area where we're at, but like as the word got across the city, like a lot of people started rocking with us, and it just took off since, and like we really haven't looked back. It probably took us like a good, like I'd say at least a year, and probably about a year, and we started selling more like sneakers, and because the vintage was good, but it just wasn't like it wasn't the hottest thing out, like Chicago like was rocking with the vintage, but not like really how like New York or LA would. So like we had to kind of like rotate. We started selling more Supreme and Bape and like sneakers, and like once we kind of like took that route is when the store really took off, and like kind of what people like know us for now, but like our roots are into vintage, and that's how we all started. My whole family like lived in that neighborhood since like the 50s, so like I got like deep roots in my neighborhood. Like my family all lives on the same block, like my mom, my dad, my grandma.
To this day?
Yeah, to this day, all my mom's brothers and sisters all live in the same block, so it's like super like old school Italian, like family oriented. Like I see my mom, I see my dad, I see my grandma, my uncles, my aunts every day. So like I've been blessed like over the course to live over there, alongside them. Like we kind of only like hire people that we, for the longest it was just for about a year it was like me and my partner, and then we brought Griff on, and we knew Griff through selling vintage and sneakers, and and then just kind of like we're together more than we're with our actual own family. So this is like the store family, and like we do a lot of things together. Like we hang out all the time, and like we do a lot of stuff together, and like so like Boneyard is a family, and like that's how we try to hire people. Like we try to hire people with the same like outlook as us, like not for like clout or like this person got 50,000 followers. Like that doesn't really do it for me exactly. I'd rather hire someone that's like gonna treat people the way we treat people, like and has the same attitude and outlook on life. I mean, I've always been into the shoes, but like with the shoes, when we were buying old shoes, like vintage shoes, like the dead stock clothing came with it, the snapbacks, and like that's how I got into the vintage clothes, and then everything kind of goes hand in hand, so it just all rolled together. Because that goes so much farther than like someone being Instagram famous, or like, because that shit is like, yeah, it is what it is. I mean, like we just kind of like got this store situated, but like we're gonna rebuild our website, and looking forward, like gonna have like a whole team just do strictly website stuff. But like in the near future, like another store, like whether it's in the city or outside the city, we're not really sure yet, but like that's always like part of growth, another store. So we got kind of a couple things planned, but like another store is like what our next goal would be. I mean, this was like to move into this store. Like, I don't know if you guys were at the first shop. It was just like
I've been going for years. Yeah.
So it was like completely different. You know, it's like just a way better shopping experience here, and like, you know, the store just looks a lot better. Like, I wanted people to like be able to leave Chicago with like, man, I went to Boneyard. That shit was dope. Like, because our first store was cool, but like we only had like so much amount of money to work with. Like when we opened it, and we really, you know, we outgrew it. Like it worked for what it was. It was our first shop. Like we built it. We had like maybe 2,000 to our name, and we did what we could. You know, this one we had a little bit more money to play with, and like, you know, I had more ideas, more space. So like, you know, like I think the shopping experience is like really, really important, especially like with how people buy things now. Like, you know, like all this stuff you could kind of buy it like on your own on Grail or StockX or eBay, you know, but like to like have somebody come into your shop and leave with like something or like have a good experience, even if they like don't buy anything, but like, man, that shop was dope. Like I rocked with those dudes. Like that shit means a lot, especially like coming from like having worked for other people, like owning stores, and like, you know, that means a lot when somebody actually like appreciates your brand and your store. Yeah, that, you know, like, because this is our baby. Like we built this. Like, you know, like I spent like damn near 3 years straight on this. Like, you know, like this is like raising a kid, you know, and it's like it's always growing. Like, you know, so the amount of love that we've gotten is like crazy. I'm 26, so I was like kind of in that weird like limbo of like early internet stages, and like still like magazines, you know, like, so like when I was young, because I've kind of always been into shoes since I was like a kid. Like we, you know, East Bay was like how we would see shit. But even before that, like my mom would take us to the mall. They used to have boards at like Foot Locker, which like was like a calendar, and it would just have a shoe on there, and it would say like, you know, February 16th, Jordan 6 are coming out. Like, and that's how you found shit out, you know, because like I don't think I had the internet until like 2007 or 8 at the crib, at least, you know. Like maybe at school we could like fuck around a little bit and like see what was coming out, but like, you know, like I'd say like young stages, like we kind of kept up with it through magazines, Slam, East Bay, shit like that. But like, you know, going into high school, all those like, you know, Kicks on Fire, all the blogs kind of like Modern Notoriety, all that shit kind of like was like first coming into play, you know, and like we were looking at that shit like every day, you know. So that shit is what made this, you know, like the social media and like the internet, like, because there was sneaker cultures in other cities, but like now it's everywhere. Like, you know, New York had a sneaker culture, LA had one, Chicago had one, but it was small. Like, you know, overseas, Tokyo, like all the big cities, like the sneaker shit like was popping, and like, you know, but in little towns and shit like that, like how it is now, nah, like it would have never happened without the internet. There's a lot of like with it, like I've traveled a lot, like since like I was young, so I've seen different stores, and I've been a lot of different places, you know. But like Chicago is like on the rise, you know, because like cool shit wasn't happening here. It always happened in LA, always happened in New York, like like Jordan parties, Nike parties, you know, like that shit wasn't happening like 5 years ago, where in LA, New York, it been happening, and now it is, you know. Like next year, like I think in the next couple of years, there's gonna be a lot more bigger stores to come to Chicago, because like people are starting to see, you know, like we've always kind of been on that back burner, like Midwest, like slow city, but like it's not really the truth, you know. It only takes like a few of the right people to see it, or a few of the right brands to come to the city to bring everybody, you know. Like it talks about like Supreme and Kith, and you know, like there's really not, you know, No Tray and St. Alfred's and RSVP, you know, are like have been holding the city down for like a while, and like that's kind of who everybody knows. But I think like there hasn't been like a super big store to come here outside of like, you know, like those are all homegrown stores, you know, which is like love, because like I'd rather shop with a Chicago dude and keep the money in Chicago than somebody from New York or like overseas. But like look in every other city, like Kith is in Miami, they're everywhere, and like I think Chicago's like up next.
I see a lot of artists influencing that culture as well, like within the fashion.
Sure.
Like I see them like wearing the Chicago brands and helping like the local stuff grow. It's kind of
I mean, I think like you gotta, like Kanye, like he definitely put Chicago on with a lot of things, but over the last 10 years he hasn't really been here much. He's really lived in LA for like majority of his like actual like famous career. Other than his first 2 albums, he wasn't really in the city much. But like looking at like Save Money and Chance and them dudes, like Chance is like one of the most influential people like to come out of the city. Like for him to be so young and like in his career and like to donate and like do all this like all this charity work is like crazy, because he just like he was like, he's not like 20 years in the game, like he's only like maybe five or 6 years in the game, and like he's already like like done so much for the city, like with social works and all that, and like that's motivation for anybody in the city. Like this dude's from the same exact city we are. Like if he could do it, any of us could do it. So I mean, like we as a kid, like my mom was always like really involved in like fundraising things for the schools, or like doing stuff for the church, and like she kind of like embedded that in me, and my partner kind of has the same like kind of like upbringing as well, with that. So like it just was only natural. Like if you could help somebody and it's like not really gonna like break you, do it. You always want as much money as possible, but like you have to spread it, and like you gotta give back, because like you never know, like that. And like it's not only that, it's just like a good feeling, like when we give, like when we did like the coat drive, or like when we cooked food for the homeless last year around Thanksgiving, like it just feels good, man. And like that small thing, like you could give money to homeless people all day, and like that doesn't mean the same as giving them a coat or like a hot meal, because it's just different, and like that little bit of joy that they get, like, man, it
means so much.
Yeah, it means so much for so little. Like something so small could like change their day, like
To you and them, yeah.
Yeah, and like you take it for granted because you have it, like my whole life I've been blessed. My parents, like they've always provided, like my whole life, we never like really, not struggle, like we weren't rich or anything, but like we never struggled or needed, because like they always provided. But like, it's not the same way for everybody. So like you gotta, I don't know, it's just it's just one of those things, like it's just, you gotta do it, man. And like for like the longest, like I would just drive around like with a bag of clothes or like some old shoes like in the car, and like instead of giving it to thrift stores, because like they're not really even doing anything for anybody. They're making money off of you. Like, like they're not helping the homeless. Like they're helping, like this shit is affordable to some people, but like homeless people aren't going in there buying shit because they don't have any money, So like instead of donating the shit to the thrift stores, I would just pass it out, and like
directly to the people who need
yeah, like I drive around a lot through the city, and you always see somebody. I just keep a couple things here, like sometimes I'll slip a $5 bill in there, or like but like I haven't, like that's the thing, like there's a lot of people think like, oh, homeless people are drug addicts or alcoholics. Yeah, they might be, but still, like rather than give them money, give them a pair of shoes or a shirt or a jacket or a hat, like that they still do need shit, they might not need money because it's going to the wrong thing, but they still do need something. We had like a bunch of Bears players, probably the like right when we first opened, like maybe second or third month, Little Yachty came to the store, and like that was like pretty big because he was like blowing up at the time. But a lot of Chicago dudes, but I'd say probably like the most well known would probably be KD. And like KD was super humble. Like obviously everybody knows who he is. Like he came in, he's like, "Hi, I'm Kevin." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" We're like, everyone was like laughing. We're like, "Oh, what's up, bro?" You know, like didn't know it was you, KD. But like it was like super unexpected. Like one of his guys used to shop with us a lot, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna bring one of my guys from Baltimore. He's a ball player." We're like, "Oh, okay." And like he was waiting. And then he's like, "Man, I'm gonna go pick him up." And he's like, "I'm bringing KD," and we're like, "What?" And then he came back with him, and like he was in there. There was like some kids playing the Keymaster, and he was like, you know, just kicking it with him. But like the thing that I've learned is like you gotta just like when not really being starstruck or anything, like, but like, you know, treat them how you would treat anybody else, like, because they don't want to be like, oh, like, can I get an autograph? Can I get a picture? Like, they just want to be like, come in and like shop and like be normal, because like they get all that other shit everywhere else they go, you know. So like, just like try to treat them like you would treat anybody else, because like their life is crazy, you know. Like they're just people, mad people, and people are crazy about like athletes and famous people. Like they go nuts for that shit, but like I think they really appreciate it when you're just like, you know, have a normal conversation, talk about, you know, other things than everybody else does, because that's what they hear all the time. I used to work at this store, Dreamtown, and like, you know, the dad like had a shoe store for like 30, like going on 40 years now. So like he taught me a lot, the kids taught me a lot, but like man, I did a lot of shit and I learned, like, you know, like I taught myself a lot by like just trial and error, you know. And like, but there's always like, you know, that's how you learn the best, from doing it yourself. Yeah. But you know that his name's Kenny Kim. He was like, he kind of took me under his wing, and he taught me a lot of shit about like how, like, selling shoes and like just about the business over the years. Like he started in like 1978, I think was the first store. So like he's seen Nike like as a baby, like then he's seen Jordan and like Fila and everything. Like he just is like, he just knows, like he just been through everything, every era of like sneakers and like, you know, fashion, and like they just know shit. Like they've been around, you know. Like Koreans in Chicago like were the ones that were like holding the hood down for shoe stores and clothing stores, like, and not even just in Chicago, all over the country. But like it's kind of crazy. Like they were just like, everywhere you go, there's a Korean shoe store in every hood. Like they're OGs in the hood, bro. They got the hood pass. I mean, like everyone has their own definition of streetwear, you know. Like my definition of streetwear like is like 2006, like, you know, Huff and like 10 Deep and, you know, all those brands and like shit like that. But like, you know, the hundreds. Like now streetwear is like, when anybody says it, it's like Vapor Supreme. But like, you know, it was different then. Like there was like, people didn't only wear Bape and Supreme. Like people wore all that shit. Diamond, like Diamond was hot when I was in high school. Like that shit used to resell just like Supreme did. Like, cause like skate shops were the only ones really carrying it, and like, you know, they kind of went the other route and like put their shit in Zoomies and all that. For the most part, like all the, the skate shops were the ones selling it. You know, like I can't even remember like where else to get that shit besides like Juggernaut. They used to sell it. Like Juggernaut sold all those streetwear brands. But other than that, in the city, I don't even remember where else I would go besides like, there was a spot called Modest out in like Berwyn. They were a skate shop, but like them were like the main spots that were selling the streetwear then. So it's me and my partner Jacob, and then we got Griffey wherever he went, the store manager, and then we got the Young Bucks, KG, and then LG. And then we have one little intern, if you see him on our Instagram, always dancing. His name's Leo, but he's such a good dude, man. He's a young kid. He's way ahead of his time too. Like hard worker, like just wants to learn. And he's been probably like interning for like since we opened the first day we opened the new shop. Like he like asked if he could come help out, and like just kind of been coming a couple days a week. But like he's really like witty, smart, like knows a lot, and like always open to learning things. But yeah, that's pretty much it, you know, for now. Yeah, probably the black cement 3s, like the ones I'm wearing. Black cement 3s, infrared 6, the black one.
Yeah.
Probably those two are like, you know, the most iconic, like to me. Like I remember like having this Jordan basketball card from like 90, I don't know, like 1 or 2 that my brother gave me, and like he had the 6s on, and like they were playing the Lakers, and I just like always like that like image is burned in my head, you know. And that was the 6 was the black infrared was the shoe they first won the championship with against the Lakers. Like, so we used to watch those videos like all the time. Like that shit was just, that image and like that sneaker just been burned in my head for like since I was a kid.